Hi, I am Hudson Meeks and I am a developer in the customer engineering team at BMC Software.
This how-to video covers adding remote event management cells to the BMC ProactiveNet Performance Management Server. The components involved include the Bppm or BMC ProactiveNet Performance Management Server and any remote event management cells we wish to add to the other cells list in the Bppm server GUI. Other cells can include cells running on the integration service nodes and/or other standalone cells running somewhere else in the environment. This list can also include the admin cell running on the Bppm server. Leveraging the other cells list in the Bppm server provides a central view and access to events across the environment in the different cells. Operators can also take actions on events in the other cells from within the Bppm GUI based on access rights granted to them. The configuration steps assume the Bppm server and the remote cells are already installed. These steps include adding the remote cell to the configuration of the admin cell running on the Bppm server, updating the cell directory file on the Bppm server to include the remote cell, restarting the remote cell, configuring the remote cell in the Bppm administration console, and finally adding the remote cell to the other cells list in the Bppm GUI. Let's see how this is done in the product. In the Bppm server GUI, we see that the other cells list shows no cells. If we click on the navigation pane options button we see up here, we will see that the admin cell is actually available. No other cells are readily available though. This is what it will look like out of the box after a fresh install. If we go ahead and check admin cell here and then click OK, we will see that the admin cell now appears under the other cells list. And if we expand that, we could go and look at different events in the admin cell. Now we will add a remote cell. The first step to add a remote cell is to run a command line utility known as iadmin. iadmin with the -AC option allows you to add a cell. The nomenclature that you specify here is the name of the cell, the encryption key for the cell, the host or primary host for the cell, and in this case I have a fully qualified DNS name. You'll also notice that I'm not showing a secondary host here because I don't care about a secondary host, but a secondary host name could be specified if necessary. The primary host port number is specified here. The environment information regarding production versus test is shown here, and the user groups that are allowed to access the cell and their rights and so forth is specified at the end of this command line. If I go ahead and hit enter here, we'll execute that command, and when it finishes successfully, you will get a notice that says your request went through successfully. So now at this point we have added the remote cell named Bppm 90is-hm to the admin cell running on the Bppm server. Our next step is to go into the mcell-dir or mcell directory file on the Bppm server and add information for this remote cell to that cell directory file. If we look at our directory structure here, you will see that I've installed this Bppm server into the default location, and the mcell-dir file is found under the ProactiveNet home location under server and the etc directory. If I scroll down slightly here, you'll see the mcell-dir file, and if I open that file up, you can see at the bottom of this file I have actually already added information for my remote cell here simply to save time in this video. There is nothing special here. You just add an entry for the remote cell. Now we need to restart the remote cell. In order to do that, we will have to go over to the other server where the remote cell is running. The remote cell is running on this box you see here, and I already have the services, the Windows Services screen available to simply restart this cell. So I'll go ahead and restart it. Now that the cell has been restarted, we need to configure the remote cell in the Bppm administration GUI back on the Bppm server. In my case, I do not have the administration GUI up and running yet, so I can just go to my task window here for that, right-click on the ProactiveNet icon, and choose the administration console option. I will now log into the console, and while this login is processing, you should be aware that if the console had already been up and running, you would need to close the console and then restart the console so that the console GUI process discovers the cell and makes it visible within the console. Now that the console is up and running, we need to select the appropriate administration activities to properly configure the cell, the remote cell within the admin console here. First, notice that I have the administration tab selected for the general administration tab. That's a lower level tab that you see here. After we have chosen the appropriate tabs here, we need to choose Edit, Configure, Administration Settings, and then choose the Impact Managers tab under the Configure Administration Settings. Once you've chosen this tab, you will see your remote cell displayed under the Available Impact Managers list. And all we want to do is simply assign it to the appropriate group under the Selected Impact Managers list. And in my case, I'm just going to add it to the My Production group. That's the default out-of-the-box production group. I've added it to that group now. I will go ahead and click Apply and OK. Now the remote cell will be visible in the other cells list within the Bppm server. So if we go back to the Bppm server GUI here, if we click on the navigation pane options now, we now see the remote cell available for a choice to be displayed within the other cells list. I'll simply click that to choose it, click OK, and now we see the remote cell displayed under the other cells list within our Bppm server GUI. If I go ahead and expand this, we will also notice that there's a number of events that are already sitting in that cell. So the information that is already in the cell will be automatically displayed here for us. And I can choose various options. I can choose no filter here. Go ahead and choose no filter again under the severity and click the filter button so that we can actually see a list of all the events. And that is how we add a remote cell to the Bppm server. That concludes this video. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for using BMC products.